CJ, Trevor, and Niko, my cousin. The characters of GTA are some of gaming's most famous, but not every actor who brought these characters to life feels like they got the star treatment. Here's what they really think about the roles that made them infamous. Ned Luke played Michael DeSanta in Grand Theft Auto 5, but before he took the job, he had no interest in starring in a video game. In fact, Luke had all but retired from acting years prior to landing the GTA role. He opened a restaurant with his brother, spent time with his family, and eventually he got curious about acting again, which led to his GTA audition. Luke told the gamer that when his agent first mentioned the audition, his reaction was simple. "I'm not going to do a video game. Why would I want to do a video game for? I'm an actor." Curiosity went out in a big way, and Luke spent 3 years doing voice work and motion capture for the game. He ended up loving the experience, and the overwhelmingly positive reception to the game, arguably the most successful single game of all time, let him know it was all worth it. After all this time spent working on GTA 5, Luke said he'd be happy to go back for more.
You're plainly addicted to chaos.
Well, I'm not sure that's true, Doc.
Stephen Ogg is another actor on record as loving his time with GTA 5, and it's easy to see why. Ogg had been acting for over a decade before working with Rockstar, but GTA made him a global celebrity. Since then, you've seen him on The Walking Dead, Better Call Saul, and Westworld. But Trevor Phillips is still the character that people most associate with him. And all these years later, he doesn't seem entirely thrilled about that. Ogg has been open about how he really feels about GTA, calling the experience of making it fun. But he also famously lashed out when YouTuber Hugo1 asked him to take on his GTA persona once again in multiple cameo videos, making it pretty clear that he's beyond over it.
Of course, I'm not Trevor. My name is Steven, and I am an actor.
Shawn Solo Fonteno is a rapper, actor, and author who has been with the GTA series since the early 2000s. He provided miscellaneous character voices for Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, then eventually went on to star in GTA 5 as protagonist Franklin Clinton. But thanks to Rockstar's penchant for keeping secrets, he nearly left the franchise before his big moment.
I quit, actually. I was like, man, this stupid
Fonteno explained in a 2022 interview with Say Cheese that he was wary of committing to the complicated motion capture process without knowing exactly what it was for. He ended up working on motion capture and voice recordings for roughly a year before he learned he was actually contributing to the next GTA. When he was asked to reprise his role as part of GTA Online DLC several years later, Fonteno told GamesRadar how happy he was to still be a part of the series' legacy. He said, "It's so surreal, it trips me out sometimes. Sometimes I just have to wake up and pinch myself to make sure, is this really happening?" Michael Hollick played Niko Bellic, the main character of GTA 4, and his experience was a bit of a roller coaster. On the one hand, the role brought him into the spotlight, but he also never felt like he was fairly compensated for the work. Hollick told the New York Times in 2008 that he was thankful to Rockstar for giving him a chance as a relatively unknown actor, but he wishes he and the other voice actors could have gotten a bigger piece of the game's massive windfall. He said, "It's tough when you see Grand Theft Auto 4 out there as the biggest thing going right now, when they're making hundreds of millions of dollars and we don't see any of it." Hollick worked on the game for 15 months and received $100,000 for his work. Not much compared to how much money the game brought in. He reportedly received no royalties on the game and wasn't paid for online advertisements that used his voice. Chris Bellard, aka Young Maylay, voiced CJ in GTA San Andreas, and he also ended up having some issues with how well he was compensated for his work. In a since-deleted Instagram post from 2020, Maylay wrote, "I never publicly dissed them because I made money from them, but Rockstar Games, them motherfuckers don't care if I'm eating or not." In no uncertain terms, he accused the company of underpaying performers and shouted out Niko voice actor Michael Hollick, saying he exposed the truth. Maylay made it clear that the only way he'd ever work with Rockstar again is if the company paid him a larger percentage of the money the games bring in. You might have forgotten that Cynthia Farrell voiced Catalina all the way back in 2001 for GTA 3, and again in 2004 for GTA San Andreas. Don't feel bad, she nearly forgot about it too. In a 2022 interview with the Vogue podcast, Farrell said that she had no idea just how popular the games are to this day. Farrell was 9 months pregnant when she got the role, and recorded all of her lines in about 2 hours, so you can tell she's still surprised to be talking about it, more than 20 years later. But like other GTA actors, she made it clear that the money wasn't anything to write home about.
I don't know if you want me to tell you on air what I made, because let's just call it a pittance.